Vanguard has been a gold standard of low-cost investing for a long time, and originally this video was going to be one long video talking about Charles Schwab, Fidelity, and Vanguard, and I just decided that is not practical and you probably don't want to sit through it. So this is just the Vanguard portion, and the highlight here is that Vanguard's a great option for someone who wants to be hands-off and just have a wide variety of index funds or low-cost mutual funds that they can choose from. You will find with Vanguard that some of their mutual funds, or quite a few of their mutual funds, you actually need to have a certain minimum, usually a few $1,000s to get started with one of those funds. Their ETFs or exchange traded funds, on the other hand, you usually just need enough to buy at least a single share, so that's just a few $100s. They do let you buy individual stocks as well, but there is a $7 commission. The thing that a lot of people like about Vanguard is their unique ownership structure. So I talk a little bit about that in this video as well. They're actually owned by their shareholders or by their fund holders. So it avoids having a conflict of interest between investors in the underlying business of the brokerage and the clients of the brokerage. So that's one thing to consider if you're looking to invest, and if you have a large account, Vanguard is a great place to be. No conversation about low-cost funds is complete without talking about Vanguard. So Vanguard, you may have even invested in their funds, whether it was through their platform or not, but you can open a Vanguard account and enjoy investing in Vanguard funds commission-free. So one of the reasons why the industry has changed as much as it has, particularly on the mutual fund and the ETF side, is because of the work of Vanguard founder Jack Bogle. His mission to really make investing more accessible to everyday individuals is something that we all benefit from, whether we directly own Vanguard funds or even if we're just owning competitor funds. It really shifted the days of mutual funds typically having 1 to 2% fees, and certainly those funds exist, but you can get good returns in low-cost funds, and we owe a lot of that to the work of Jack Bogle. So let's take a look, like we did with the others here, just to see what kind of things they offer. So if we go, if we follow here their personal investors link, we can get over to the types of accounts that they offer. Just like we saw with Charles Schwab and Fidelity, they offer both Roth and traditional accounts, college savings. A lot of companies will also work with Vanguard to offer retirement programs. And so what, like I said, what's made a name for them has been their Vanguard ETFs. And you can do quite a bit just investing in Vanguard ETFs. So let's go over to that. You never pay a commission through Vanguard if you're purchasing a Vanguard ETF, and the ETFs don't have minimums other than the fact that you do need to buy at least one share. That's generally true of ETFs. There's an actual share price. You can't buy half of a share. So I think they mention here as well, typically a share is going to range from $50 to a few $100s. So that might limit some of the funds you can get into if you're starting with just a small amount of money. But given that when you purchase an ETF, it's generally a diversified investment unto itself. So if you buy an ETF, you're usually effectively buying shares of 100 or more different companies. If you put all of your money into one ETF, that's still decently diversified. There's still a case to be made for diversified beyond that, but Vanguard at least there won't be a minimum beyond that share restriction in terms of what you can invest in. I did find the difference between their ETFs and mutual funds. Their mutual funds oftentimes do have a minimum investment. And so that's not based on the fund's share price, Most Vanguard funds have a minimum of $3,000. That might be different for Roth IRA or just IRA accounts in general, but that's something to be aware of. Certainly with just their ETFs, I believe they have over 1,800 of their own ETFs that they offer. So you have a tremendous amount of variation right there. But until you get to a point where you have a decent amount in your investment account, you might be limited in terms of what mutual funds you can purchase. You can also invest in individual stocks. They do have transaction fees or commissions with stock purchases. So if investing in a lot of individual stocks is something that you want to do, Vanguard may not be the lowest cost provider in that type of investing. One other area where there is a cost with Vanguard that there isn't with some of the others, they do have an annual fee of $20, which depending on whether you're investing $10,000 or $100 makes a big difference. If you're investing $100 initially and you get hit with a $20 fee, that really stings. If you're investing $10,000, $20,000, maybe $100,000, a $20 annual fee to have access to this many low-cost funds is really fantastic. We actually saw when we were looking at that Charles Schwab ETF offering, they compared against Vanguard, and that's simply because Vanguard has been the gold standard in low-cost passive investing. Passive meaning you're not going out and picking stocks that you think are going to outperform. You're buying a basket, oftentimes called an index, something that's going to just track funds or track the stock market generally. That can be a great way to invest and just not really lose sleep over what your money is tied up in. So again, Vanguard, really solid option for someone who wants to keep their transaction costs low, but also be relatively hands-off. And you can certainly do worse than going with a Vanguard account. One other thing, since I made a comment about order flow with Charles Schwab, and like I said, Fidelity, I believe, does not sell order flow. Vanguard, I'm very confident, does not sell order flow, and part of that is just their ownership structure is such that as an account user, you are a part owner of Vanguard. If you're investing in Vanguard funds, you are a part owner of the company as a whole, and so that just creates a structure that the goal is to serve Vanguard users as best as possible. So that's a benefit worth noting. They've certainly developed a reputation for being one of the most trustworthy financial companies out there. I think it's also true of Charles Schwab. It's also true of Fidelity. But Vanguard, like I said, they've been kind of the gold standard in low-cost investing. So that's a big part of the reason that they're on this list. So if you stuck around this long, I'm guessing you just really like low-cost index funds. And if that's the case, I really appreciate it. Feel free to stick around for more videos. If this is something that you find interesting, I appreciate you watching. Feel free to like and subscribe.